Yes! We got a fish. Yes! Yes!
Today's protagonist is Xander from the YouTube channel Xander Budnick. He's decided he needs some peace and quiet, the kind you only get far from cell service and closer to things with teeth. So he heads to the Amazon for a 5-day solo survival run. As the motor fades, the silence hits hard. Half nerves, half thrill, kind of like stepping onto a roller coaster after reading the height requirement twice. He's traveling ultra-light. A fishing kit, a ferro rod, a metal bottle for boiling water, purification drops, and a homemade bow. Add a camera setup and a sturdy knife, and that's the full loadout. He's seasoned, sure, but the Amazon is the big leagues. No snack bar, no lifeguard, and the local wildlife reads the menu in reverse. The weather is moody. Think reality TV contestant in week 3. Crocs are common. Spiders are the kind you don't swat. You apologize and move camps. But he's committed. House rules. No turning back. Heat ramps up fast, so his water disappears even faster. Luck helps. There's a narrow stream nearby. He fills the metal bottle, adds purification drops, and stashes a reserve. Hydration. Handled. For now. He pushes deeper into the green wall until he finds a promising campsite. Decent ground, close to running water. Time to build. The machete work begins, but right on cue, the sky swings from summer picnic to stadium evacuation. He keeps working through the rain, because at this point the sweat and rain are splitting the bill anyway. Sunshine returns, just long enough to dry his shirt, then the clouds reload. Classic rainforest 2-for-1. Shelter first or shelter last? Here, it's shelter first. He frames a simple A-style structure, tests the strength, then chooses a rectangular plan that'll shed water better and give him room to live rather than just survive. More poles, more lashings, more clouds grumbling in the distance. When the second downpour hits, he laughs it off and throws his still damp shirt back on.
I think it's raining!
Priorities. Finish the roof before the next weather plot twist. Framework set, he begins layering leaves. Roofs in the jungle are like lasagna. Thin base, then stack, stack, stack. It looks rough, but coverage is what counts. With basic shelter up, he treats himself. A small coffee from home, sipped like it's from a cafe and not a clearing where the guest list includes ants the size of almonds. Housing? Okay. Food? Not okay. Recon time. He finds a palm and, respectfully, goes after a younger offshoot instead of the towering veteran. The palm heart is crisp, hydrating, and exactly the kind of calories you want when your body thinks it's in a sauna with cardio. He eats, reloads with more palm leaves for roofing, and grabs a jackpot of giant fronds to reinforce the shelter. The jungle has gifted him scaffolding. He's going to use it. Layer 1 goes on, then a second, thicker weave. What he thought would take 15 minutes becomes a home improvement show with an enthusiastic host. Next up, a bed frame. 2 stakes, a cross beam, and more palm to lay a springy platform. Suddenly, it's a tiny stilt house in spirit. Jungle edition. Comfortable enough that don't fall asleep mid-shift becomes a real risk. Fire is the next boss fight. He scouts the forest for dry wood that somehow escaped the last sprinklers from the sky routine. Finds a piece that's dry inside and sets it aside to cure. He takes another palm tip, more future calories, and stores it whole to slow spoilage. Strategy matters. Even your groceries need a plan out here. Everything around him was soaked. But luck kicked in when Xander spotted a dead branch that was bone dry on the inside, its decayed core perfect for kindling. He carefully shaved off thin curls of the dry wood, focused like he was carving a block of gold. As he searched for more materials, he stumbled upon a massive vine thick as a garden hose, nature's own plumbing system. Inside was clear, fresh water. All it took was cutting both ends, and it poured out like a built-in hydration line. He took a long drink. Never one to waste a good find, he chopped off a long section to bring back for later. But before he could reach his camp, thunder rolled across the canopy like war drums, a signal that another Amazon downpour was on its way. He barely had time to exhale a bit of warmth before the sky opened up again, like Mother Nature herself was testing his survival endurance. The carefully built leaf roof he'd been so proud of suddenly turned traitor, dripping water onto him in a slow, mocking rhythm, like a remix nobody asked for. Xander tried patching it up, fumbling around like a guy trying to fix his phone in the middle of a hurricane. By now, it felt like the Amazon had subscribed him to the Triple Rain Deluxe combo. 3 storms for the price of 1. No refunds. Determined not to end up as jungle-flavored popsicle, he kicked into overdrive, scrambling to light a fire at record speed like he was competing in the Survival Olympics. The rain threatens. He preps fine shavings like gold dust, and for a moment, the flame flares. Then dies. The shavings were damp. Welcome to Rainforest 101. Reset. He scrapes new tinder, coaxes sparks, and gets just enough glow to pretend optimism. Night drops and the insect orchestra tunes up. The kind of soundtrack that makes noise-canceling headphones suddenly feel like a brilliant invention. After a short break, Xander got back to work on the fire, this time choosing the driest palm wood he could find and shaving it down for fine sawdust. And finally, hallelujah, the flames caught and burned bright, roaring like victory itself. For a moment, it felt like he'd done it. But the Amazon doesn't hand out easy wins.
Oh, so close. So close.
Out of options, he reached for his last resort, some medical cotton from his kit. One spark later, a golden flame flared to life like a miracle straight out of a survival movie. Exhausted but triumphant, Xander collapsed beside the fire, soaking in the warmth like a man hugging a space heater after a week in the Arctic. If Warmth had a Yelp page, he'd leave 5 stars and a long review. Making it through the night felt like coming back from the dead. When morning finally arrived, Xander woke up looking like a sleep-deprived zombie after a double shift. After nearly freezing solid, he decided he'd earned a little self-reward. He cracked open his water like an office worker hitting that first cup of coffee and headed to the river to refill. Breakfast wasn't exactly gourmet, just the palm heart he'd harvested the day before. He chewed through it like it was a 5-star meal, because when you're starving, even tree salad starts to taste like victory. Then came the real luxury, coffee. He brewed a hot cup, savoring each sip as the jungle breeze rolled in, until he noticed something moving. Turns out his little breakfast nook had a few uninvited guests, venomous spiders. Because of course it did. Out here, surprises are part of the package deal. So Xander spent his next 5 precious minutes doing what any rational man would do, landscaping his campsite like his life depended on it. Then, a lucky find. Wild seed pods that hide plump grubs. Protein in a biodegradable wrapper. He samples a couple, nutty, buttery, then saves the rest for bait.
Tastes like butter, interestingly enough.
He needed a fishing rod, so he started hunting for a springy, straight sapling with the right flex. After a near miss with a venomous spider, he finally found the perfect branch. Luck finally swung his way when he found a long, straight branch. A little trimming, a bit of string from his pack, and boom, homemade fishing rod, jungle edition.
To catch bait fish, to catch bigger fish, to then catch a whale.
He grabbed the wild fruit, cracked it open, and scooped out the plump grubs inside. They weren't appetizing, but they were premium bait. With rod in hand and his fishing pro mode activated, Xander marched to the riverbank like he had a dinner reservation. Within just a few minutes of casting his line, Xander landed his first catch. It was a fun-sized snack. Proof of concept, the system worked. Realizing he couldn't win on size, he switched strategies to quantity, casting one after another like a guy chasing dopamine hits on a fishing simulator. Before long, Xander was reeling them in with the rhythm of a jazz pianist. By the end of the session, he had a grand total of 11 fish flopping in his stash. Not bad for a day's work. Enough for a full-blown jungle barbecue, or at least the most remote fish fry in Amazon history. With a solid stash of fish secured, Xander headed back to camp, grinning like he'd just hit the lottery. He grabbed dry wood for the upcoming jungle BBQ and a few more palm cores. Back at his shelter, he crashed for a quick nap. 2 hours later, he woke up groggy, dreaming about city food, the kind of meals that come with napkins instead of leaves. Reality, however, had other plans. The moment he opened his eyes, he spotted an entire bug convention happening on the forest floor. Massive ants had already discovered his catch and started a buffet. He pivoted. The tiny fish become bait for bigger fish, going full invest your pennies to catch $1. He quickly bent a roll of steel wire into 4 solid fish hooks, a DIY angler's dream, and planned to set them along the riverbank. Bait wasn't an issue thanks to the ants raiding his smaller catches. As daylight faded, he kicked into high gear. First task, firewood. He darted into the forest, grabbing every dry branch within reach. Back at camp, he noticed his leaf roof starting to dry out, which was a ticking time bomb. So, he reinforced it. A few solid chops later, a massive palm tree came crashing down, followed by another. He used the rest to upgrade his roof like a survivalist home renovation show. He layered on the fresh leaves, improving his anti-leak system. Just as he finished, he noticed the fire dying down. Again. A few frantic puffs later, he saved it like a dad relighting the grill after saying, "Don't worry, I got this." The glow returned, warm and strong. He even built a small rack to hang his bow. Then he realized he hadn't bathed in 2 days. He sprinted to the river, splashing into the cool water.
Oh, God, that's nice. Oh, yes.
Feeling refreshed, he hustled back to camp, set his fish traps along the riverbank, and quietly hoped that tomorrow would bring a gourmet surprise. On the way back, he gathered a load of dry wood for the night. Dinner was palm heart. With a full belly, sort of, he curled up by the campfire and drifted off under the flickering glow, doing his best to ignore the cold creeping in. Morning came fast. The fire was barely alive, so he leaned in and blew on the embers like he was trying to relight birthday candles, then ran to the river for his daily refill. Same cycle, different day, the Amazon grind. 48 hours in, and his food count stood at exactly 3 tiny palm hearts. When he checked his fish traps, the first was empty. The second, also, nothing. He put all his hope into the remaining ones, whispering silent prayers to the fish gods. No luck. By the 4th trap, it was official. Not a single catch. The disappointment hit hard, like checking your bank account after payday and seeing May's available balance. Frustrated but stubborn, Xander decided to push through. With no meat in sight, he went back to his trusty palm hearts, chewing them until the very word palm made his eye twitch. As if to rub it in, his campfire's heat dried the roof completely, threatening to undo his waterproof setup. Things were going downhill faster than a shopping cart in a parking lot. Still hungry, he went hunting for more wild fruit, the kind that hides big, juicy grubs inside. He pulled a few, split them open, and prepped the squirmy little protein bombs for fishing bait. It worked quickly. He hooked another fish, but it was tiny, barely the size of his hand. These Amazon fish seemed to have an agreement to stay small, like nature's inside joke. Since one wasn't enough to fill him up, he returned to his usual strategy. Small fish to bait bigger fish. Back at camp, his eyes landed on the bow, untouched and ready. Channeling his inner action hero, he grabbed it and went scouting for any creature with meat on it. The forest, though, was dead silent. No movement, no calls, nothing. Even the bugs seemed to take the day off. So he returned to his professional amateur career, fishing. He went back to his favorite spot, cast the line, and within minutes got a decent bite. Maybe half a pound or so. Not much, but better than another plant-based meal. Nearby, a fallen log stretched across the river like a natural bridge, his new lucky perch. Using the smaller fish as bait, he dropped his line again. Moments later, the rod bent hard. He pulled with everything he had and brought up a fish nearly 10 times bigger than the rest.
Yes! We got a fish. Yes! Woo!
No hesitation. He cleaned the fish, sharpened a stick, and started grilling it right there. As it cooked, he took another dip in the river, cooling off like it was his private spa. When he came back, the fish was golden brown, crispy, and smelled like victory. Then, because the jungle never sleeps, his other fishing line started shaking violently. He sprinted over, another monster fish, even bigger than the last one. It was the 2-for-1 special of survival living.
Yes! Woo! Yeah! Woohoo! Yes! Oh my God.
Forget palm hearts. Tonight he was eating real meat. The catch? Piranha. Razor-sharp teeth, deadly reputation, but grilled to perfection, it was delicious. Buttery, smoky, and so good it could make you forget your Wi-Fi password. He cleaned, gutted, and grilled the second fish too, then set a few extra traps nearby. When he returned, the aroma hit him like pure happiness. That night, he feasted like a king. The fire crackled. Bugs swarmed in as uninvited dinner guests, and for once, he didn't care. Full, warm, and finally satisfied, Xander stretched out beside the fire, smiling. In the heart of the Amazon, surrounded by chaos, he'd earned a night of peace, and a story that tasted a lot like grilled piranha and victory. The next morning, Xander woke up to find his fire barely clinging to life. He rushed to the river, filled his bottle, and drank his Amazon coffee. Then it was time to check the fish traps, and the results were depressing. Nothing. Just a few strands of river weed. A salad no one asked for. Back at camp, he decided to try again. He headed deeper into the forest to craft a spring trap. He stripped the bark for rope, and after a bit of tinkering, had himself a pretty decent jungle-grade snare. He carried the trap to the riverbank, set it in place, and, jackpot, accidentally caught a wandering crab. Finally, something new on the menu. Feeling lucky, he headed back to camp for a quick nap. When he woke up, he ran to check his trap again, only to find half the bait gone and no fish in sight. Someone had clearly pulled a fast one on him. He reset the trap, sighed, and chopped down 2 small palm trees, another round of palm heart, because at this point it was practically his personality. He'd eaten so much of it that just smelling one made him question his life choices. Still, hunger doesn't wait, so down it went. Once fed, technically, he returned to the river for another round of fishing, hoping that maybe today luck would clock back in. But no. After hours of casting and moving spots, his catch count remained at 0. By sunset, he was swinging that rod like a man auditioning for Fishing with No Fish, the musical, and his stomach growled loud enough to echo. Refusing to give up, Xander came up with a new plan: build the ultimate survival weapon, a bow fishing setup. He tied a cord to his arrow so he wouldn't lose it with each shot, but as soon as he started, the bugs showed up like it was an open bar party. They swarmed his face, crawled into his mouth, and made him cough like he'd just swallowed soy sauce straight from the bottle. Still, hunger has a way of motivating people. He grabbed his flashlight, bow in hand, and became a shadowy jungle ninja, hunting for fish under moonlight. A few minutes in, success. He landed a small fish, barely the size of a pencil,
Yep. Little guy.
and spotted another crab nearby. Not bad for a midnight snack. But Xander wasn't here for snack-size victories. He wanted a full meal. Using the tiny fish as bait, he reset his traps for bigger prey. As he finished setting the line, he noticed a huge spider nearby, watching him like it was judging his life decisions. He took a quick dip in the river to cool off, then wandered back to camp to wait. When he returned to check his line, he couldn't believe his eyes. The pole bent hard, and when he pulled, a monster fish emerged. It was enormous, easily several pounds heavier than anything he'd caught all trip.
This is the same as that tasty fish I had the other day, but it's just bigger.
He hauled it barefoot through a minefield of jungle insects, each step a gamble. But it didn't matter. He was grinning like a man who just discovered Wi-Fi in the wilderness. Back at camp, he cleaned the fish, skewered the fillets, and placed them over the fire. The smell filled the air. Smoky, buttery, pure happiness. The first bite melted in his mouth. So good it almost made him consider signing a lease to live in the jungle full-time. Honestly, that fish could give any 5-star restaurant a run for its money. Stuffed and satisfied, he lay back beside the fire, drifting into one of the best sleeps of his life. The next morning came quietly. He finished the leftover fish from last night, packed up his gear, and dismantled what had once been his proud leaf mansion. Before leaving, he made sure the fire was completely out. Survival rule number 1. As the small boat glided across the misty river, Xander looked back at the jungle, tired, proud, and still smelling faintly of grilled fish. The challenge was over, but the story, the struggle, and that unmistakable campfire scent, those would follow him all the way home.